Good afternoon. This is All India Radio and I'm Punita Bakshi, and with me is Anuja Kumar with the Midday News. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs meeting to review Ukraine situation. Second and final phase of assembly elections to be held in Manipur tomorrow. Campaigning to end tomorrow for the final phase of assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh. Prime Minister addresses webinar on energy for sustainable growth. Says sustainable and innovative business models must be developed to improve efficiency in the electric vehicles EV ecosystem. Government approves modernization scheme to equip Central Armed Police Forces with modern state-of-the-art weapons and equipment. Plastic business to grow into a 10 lakh crore industry in the next 5 years, says the centre. 97% of adult population in the country inoculated with first dose of COVID vaccine. Centre transfers 1,82,000 crore rupees to farmers' accounts under the PM Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana. And in cricket, first test match between India and Sri Lanka underway in Mohali. As we start the bulletin, we appeal to our listeners to stay safe from COVID-19 by following these 4 simple steps. Get fully vaccinated. Wear a face mask. Maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing. And focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired a meeting to review the Ukraine situation today. The meeting is being attended by Union Ministers Dr. S. Jaishankar and Piyush Goyal, along with National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla, and other senior officials. 2 days back, the Prime Minister had held a similar meeting on the Ukraine crisis. He has been continuously holding high-level meetings on the Ukraine crisis since the beginning of the conflict. A special Indigo flight carrying 219 Indian nationals from Bucharest landed in Delhi during the wee hours today. The Indian nationals were evacuated from Ukraine and brought to Romania, where they boarded the flight. Minister of State for Agriculture, Kailash Chaudhary, received them at the airport. Another flight from Budapest also landed early morning today with 219 Indian evacuees from Ukraine. Minister of State for Home, Nishit Pramanik, received them at the airport. 2 C-17 Globemaster of Indian Air Force carrying 210 Indian nationals each from Bucharest and Budapest landed at Hindon Air Base near Delhi this morning. Minister of State for Defence Ajay Bhatt received them. IAF said its C-17 Globemaster has operated 7 flights and brought home 1,428 Indian nationals so far. It has also delivered 9.7 tons of relief material.
The Regional State Administration of Ukraine's southeast has said Russian military forces have seized Europe's largest nuclear power plant, Zaporizhzhia plant, situated in Ukraine's southeast. Quoting the Ukrainian Nuclear Inspectorate, the Regional State Administration said on social media that operation personnel are monitoring the condition of power units. It added it sought to ensure their operations were in line with safety requirements. Ukraine has said Russia forces attacked the plant in the early hours today, setting an adjacent 5-story training facility on fire. U.S. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm yesterday said the reactors at Zaporizhzhia power station are protected by robust containment structures and reactors are being safely shut down. Granholm tweeted she had spoken to Ukraine's energy minister about the situation at the plant. She said there was no elevated radiation readings near the facility. Ukraine emergency services have said they had extinguished a fire at Europe's largest nuclear power plant of Zaporizhzhia. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that India's vision is clear that sustainable growth is possible from sustainable energy sources only. Addressing a webinar on energy for sustainable growth today, Mr. Modi said, with the coming years, India's energy demands will increase. Therefore, we must transit to renewable energy.
Energy for sustainable growth ये हमारी पुरातन परंपराओं से भी प्रेरित है और भविष्य की आवश्यकताओं, आकांक्षाओं की पूर्ति का मार्ग भी है। भारत का क्लियर विजन है कि सस्टेनेबल ग्रोथ, सस्टेनेबल एनर्जी सोर्सेज से ही संभव है।
He said today's theme of energy for sustainable growth is not only inspired by our traditional knowledge, but will also lead the future of the country. The Prime Minister said he considers the COP26 goals of achieving the net zero target not as a challenge, but as an opportunity. He said by 2030, India has set the target of extracting 50% of its energy from non-fossil fuels, and it is an opportunity to shift to more sustainable practices. He said there is a need to focus on building a hydrogen ecosystem.
हमने नेशनल हाइड्रोजन मिशन की भी घोषणा की है। भारत के पास प्रचुर मात्रा में उपलब्ध रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी पावर के रूप में एक इनहेरेंट एडवांटेज है। इससे भारत विश्व में ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन का हब बन सकता है। हाइड्रोजन इकोसिस्टम फर्टिलाइजर, रिफाइनरीज और ट्रांसपोर्ट सेक्टर से इंटरकनेक्टेड है। एक ऐसा क्षेत्र है जिसमें प्राइवेट सेक्टर द्वारा इनोवेशंस को बढ़ावा दिया जाना चाहिए ताकि भारत की पूरी क्षमता का उपयोग किया जा सके।
He said Union Budget 2022-23 has drawn a special focus on battery swapping policy that can scale the energy efficiency capabilities. The Prime Minister said we must develop sustainable and innovative business models to improve efficiency in the electric vehicles EV ecosystem. He said the government has scaled up the production of LED bulbs that immensely resulted in price drop of an LED bulb, and under the Ujala scheme the common man has also been able to save over 20,000 crore rupees electricity bills.
उजाला योजना के तहत हमने देश में करीब 37 करोड़ एलईडी बल्ब बांटे। इससे लगभग 48,000 मिलियन किलोवाट आवर बिजली बची है। हमारे गरीब और मध्यम वर्ग का सालाना करीब 20,000 करोड़ रुपए का बिजली बिल भी बचा है और प्रति वर्ष करीब 4 करोड़ टन कार्बन एमिशन कम हुआ है। हमने जो परंपरागत राष्ट्रीय स्ट्रीट लाइट्स होती हैं, उसमें भी 1.25 करोड़ स्मार्ट एलईडी बल्बों में बदला है। हमारी जो स्थानीय निकाय हैं, नगर पालिका, महानगर पालिका, जहां पंचायतों में इस प्रकार के स्ट्रीट लाइट हैं, 6,000 करोड़ रुपया बिजली के बिल में बचत हुई है इन नगर पालिकाओं को।
Mr. Modi said 4 pilot projects for coal gasification and conversion of coal into chemicals required for the industry will be set up to evolve technical and financial viability. He said every household should develop its own solar tree that can contribute to saving up to 15% electricity of that house. He added that it will not only be unique, but it will be environment friendly too. The Prime Minister said energy saving and production are equally important for sustainability. He said there is a need to do a lot more to build more energy efficient ACs, heaters, geysers and similar appliances in India.
ये जो हम वेबिनार कर रहे हैं, हम बजट क्या है वो समझाने के लिए नहीं कर रहे हैं, हम आपको सुनने के लिए वेबिनार करते हैं। जो बजट बन चुका है उसको इस क्षेत्र में हम लागू कैसे करेंगे, ज्यादा से ज्यादा आउटकम के साथ हम कैसे आगे बढ़ेंगे, तेज गति लाने के लिए मैं चाहता हूं कि आप लोग कॉन्क्रीट प्रैक्टिकल एग्जाम्पल और सजेशन के साथ इस वेबिनार को सफल बनाएं। मेरी आपको बहुत शुभकामनाएं हैं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Over 178 crore 29 lakh vaccine doses have been administered so far under nationwide vaccination drive. Health Ministry said over 24 lakh 84,000 doses were administered yesterday. The recovery rate is currently at 98.64%. Over 6,000 new cases were recorded in the last 24 hours. India's active caseload currently stands at 69,897. 201 deaths were reported in the last 24 hours. Health Ministry today said that more than 179 crore 14 lakh vaccine doses have been provided to states and union territories so far through centres free of cost channel and through direct state procurement category. It said more than 15 crore 49 lakh balance and unutilized COVID vaccine doses are still available with the states and union territories to be administered.
Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia has said that 97% of the adult population have been inoculated with the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine. In a tweet, he said, nation is rapidly marching towards achieving 100% first dose mark. He said that with Sabka Prayas, the world's largest vaccination drive is going from strength to strength. Over 2 crore healthcare and frontline workers and citizens aged 60 years and above have received precaution dose. Tweeting about this, Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia has requested all those who are eligible to get their precaution dose at the earliest.
Centre has approved the Modernisation Plan 4 scheme for Central Armed Police Forces. It will equip the forces with modern state-of-the-art weapons and equipment as per their operational requirement, keeping in view their deployment pattern in different theatres. Besides, upgraded IT solutions will also be provided to them. The scheme, with a total outlay of 1,523 crore rupees, is to be implemented by the Home Ministry from February 2022 to March 2026. The implementation of the scheme will equip Central Armed Police Forces to improve the overall operational efficiency and preparedness, which will positively impact the internal security scenario in the country. Minister of State for Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Bhanu Pratap Singh Verma today said the government is making endeavours to make the plastic business a 10 lakh crore industry in the next 5 years. Inaugurating the International Summit 2022 on Plastic Recycling and Waste Management in New Delhi, Mr. Verma said it is only possible with the help of the MSME sector. He said India is a growing market of plastic industry and by the end of the year 2030, its use in the country will be 30 million tons. He said 95% plastic producing units in the country are in the MSME sector and the government is providing assistance to them through different initiatives. The minister said there are 3,500 modernized plastic recycling units in the country along with 4,000 unorganized recycling plants. He also said the plastic industry is playing a significant role in the Make in India initiative.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs meeting to review Ukraine situation. Second and final phase of assembly elections to be held in Manipur tomorrow. Campaigning to end tomorrow for the final phase of assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh. PM addresses webinar on Energy for Sustainable Growth, says sustainable and innovative business models must be developed to improve efficiency in the electric vehicles ecosystem. Government approves modernization scheme to equip Central Armed Police Forces with modern state-of-the-art weapons and equipment. Plastic business to grow into a 10 lakh crore industry in the next 5 years, says Centre. 97% of adult population in the country inoculated with first dose of COVID vaccine. Centre transfers 1,82,000 crore rupees to farmers' accounts under the PM Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana. And in cricket, first test match between India and Sri Lanka underway in Mohali. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो खुद से वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
Campaign in Uttar Pradesh has reached its final stage for the assembly elections in the state. Tomorrow will be the last date for campaigning for the 7th phase, and top leaders and star campaigners of all political parties are focusing on Varanasi and adjoining districts, which are going to poll in the last phase on the 7th of March. Senior BJP leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi will camp in Varanasi for 2 days and take part in different poll programs, including a road show. Now let's go over to our correspondent in Lucknow, Sushil Tiwari, for more updates.
Well, Punita, apart from the door-to-door campaign, road shows and political rallies, parties have put all the effort to woo the voters from all mediums like traditional way and from digital mode also. There are many WhatsApp groups, there are many Facebook groups in which through which they are contacting the voters, and many volunteers from the party are working on it. Only few hours are left for the last phase of campaign, and the whole battery of workers, volunteers and the functionaries of BJP are focusing on digital mode. They are using all the digital platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp groups, and they are making calls, in personal calls also to the voters, the party functionaries, and asking them to vote for their party. And same is being done by the other volunteers and workers of the other parties. But obviously the BJP has been working on this digital mode from long time, so they will have a little edge in this digital mode of campaign. But other parties have also made so many WhatsApp groups and other groups to connect with the voters digitally. Yes.
Thank you, Sushil, for those updates. In Manipur, second and final phase of assembly elections will be held tomorrow. 22 assembly seats spread over 10 districts will go to polls in this phase. 92 candidates, including 2 women, are in the fray. Campaigning for this phase ended yesterday evening. More from our correspondent.
In the second phase poll in Manipur, polling will be held at 1,247 polling stations spread across 3 valley and 7 hill districts. Tight security measures have been placed for the second phase poll in Manipur. Polling officials and security personnel detailed for interior areas have already been left district headquarters along with EVM and VVPAT machines. The dispersion of polling officials will be completed by this evening. On the polling day, webcasting will be done where internet facility are available, and videography will be done in shadow areas. Model polling stations and pink polling station will be there in every assembly constituency. Voter assistant booth will also be there, and all the polling stations will be sanitized before the polling considering the COVID-19 pandemic. JJ Thoksom, AIR News, Imphal.
In Tamil Nadu, the ruling DMK bagged 20 of the 21 mayor posts of the municipal corporations, while the only other seat went in favour of its alliance partner, the Congress. The Greater Chennai Corporation got its youngest woman mayor, with R. Priya of the DMK taking oath today. More from our correspondent.
The results of the indirect polls for selecting the mayors and presidents of the urban civic bodies were on expected lines. The reason is that in the direct elections held on February 19, the DMK and its alliance partners captured a majority of the votes in most of the civic bodies. As a result, most of the leadership positions have been garnered by the ruling combine. A significant feature of this election is that 50% of the posts, including mayors, were reserved for women, with sub-quotas in it. Another notable feature is that all 21 mayors of the corporations were elected unopposed today. As far as Chennai is concerned, Ms. Priya is the third woman to lead the country's oldest civic body since its inception in 1688. Meanwhile, this afternoon, another round of indirect elections is set to be held for selecting the deputy mayors of corporations, deputy chairpersons of municipalities, and vice presidents of town panchayats. Jai Singh, AR News, Chennai.
Union Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar has said that the Government of India has transferred 1,82,000 crore rupees till date to the farmers' accounts under the PM Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana. Speaking virtually in an event organized by a private TV channel in Odisha today, Mr. Tomar said the Union government has been making all efforts for the welfare of the farmers. Describing the farmers' producers' organizations as a big platform for the small farmers, Mr. Tomar said that the 10,000 FPOs will be quite beneficial for the farmers. More in this report from our Bhubaneswar correspondent.
The Union Agriculture Minister said that agriculture has always stood with the nation whenever there was a crisis. Acknowledging the immense contribution of the farmers, Mr. Tomar said when the economies across the world were badly bruised during the pandemic, the agriculture sector rose to the country's expectation, thereby proving its continuing relevance in the context of the Indian economy. Stating that India is one of the top 10 countries in terms of export volume of agrarian products, he said, efforts are being made to put India among the top 5 by ensuring the qualitative standard of the agricultural products. Contextually, the minister also underlined the need of maintaining soil health and said that the well-being of the soil, the villages and the country are all closely interlinked. Girish Chandrada, AIR News, Bhubaneswar.
In Andaman Nicobar, due to resurfacing work at Port Blair Airport, flights are now available only for 3 days in a week. Barring Saturday, Sunday and Monday, the airport will remain closed for operations in the coming months. However, the frequency of incoming flights has been increased. A report.
Flights are the only medium to reach Port Blair. More than 20 flights are available per day connecting Port Blair directly to Chennai, Kolkata, Delhi, Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Mumbai and Vizag. The schedule will be effective from tomorrow onwards. The partial closure of airport will have an adverse effect on economy and tourism. Patients seeking emergency help will be hit in the worst way. Acting upon the situation, the Chief Secretary Jitendra Narayan has taken up this issue with Union Home Secretary, Defence Secretary and Chief of Staff, Andaman and Nicobar Command in a recently held VC. The Chief Secretary has requested to find an alternative way to resolve this issue. Gaurav Patwal, AIR News, Port Blair.
And now let's listen to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News, Birth of a Nation.
India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day. In our 200th episode today, we remember freedom fighter Ripudaman Singh, who was born on the 4th of March, 1883. Son of Maharaja Hira Singh of Nabha, he was nominated as a member Imperial Legislative Council during 1906 to 1908. He was generally critical of the British and voted against the Seditious Meetings Bill. After the death of his father in December 1911, Ripudaman Singh returned to Nabha and ascended the throne in January 1912. As a king, Ripudaman Singh adopted an independent stance in his dealings with political officers and lieutenant governors. He appointed the Congressite Purushottam Das Tandon as chief minister and engaged a pro-Congress barrister, Sir Eardley Norton. He insisted on the treaty rights and autonomy of princes in the princes' conferences.
He overlooked the presence of Gadarites in his territories and donated money towards the founding of Banaras Hindu University. He presided over a session of the Tilak School of Politics and contributed to the Tilak Swaraj Fund. He gave financial support to pro-Congress papers like the Bombay Chronicle and the Indian Daily Herald, and interacted with the national leaders like Gokhale, Malviya, Lajpat Rai and Motilal Nehru.
During the Akali movement in Punjab, Ripudaman Singh observed the Martyrs' Day to honour all those who laid down their lives at Nankana Sahib.
After a manipulated political inquiry, Ripudaman Singh was forced into dissociating himself from the Nabha administration and sent subsequently to Dehradun.
The issue of his restoration was taken up by the Shiromani Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee and the Shiromani Akali Dal, which developed into a prolonged agitation during 1923 to 1925 called the Jaito Morcha. The Indian National Congress also passed resolutions in support of Ripudaman Singh.
After the enactment of Gurudwara legislation and withdrawal of Akali agitation in 1925, Ripudaman Singh was deposed formally in 1928 and sent to Kodaikanal in Madras Presidency as a political prisoner. Several national leaders tried to secure his release, but the government remained adamant on the plea of his disloyalty. Ripudaman Singh was all alone in Kodaikanal when he died in December 1942 after a long and persistent fight for freedom. We salute the great Indian.
Vande.
We also remember freedom fighter Bulusu Sambamurthy, who was born on the 4th of March 1886 in Godavari district of the erstwhile Madras Presidency. He was inspired by a speech by Konda Venkatappaya Pantulu and gave up his law profession to join the non-cooperation movement in 1920.
Sambamurthy was a true Gandhian and adopted Gandhian principles in everyday life. In 1923, he became a member of the organizing committee of the Kakinada session of the Indian National Congress. He was one of the first leaders to demand Purna Swaraj.
In April 1930, he participated in a salt satyagraha at Chollangi near Kakinada and was arrested. He stood in the 1937 Madras Assembly elections and was elected the President of the Madras Legislative Council. He served from 1937 to 1942 when he resigned due to the outbreak of the Quit India movement.
Sambamurthy was also connected with the Andhrodhyamam, Andhra movement. When Potti Sri Ramulu decided to fast unto death at Madras in 1952 on the issue of formation of Andhra province, Sambamurthy placed his residence at his disposal. We salute the great patriot.
We also remember Indian National Army member Deep Singh. Born in Haryana, Deep Singh joined the INA voluntarily as a sepoy and served in the 3rd Guerrilla Regiment. He was killed while taking part in the fighting against the British in Burma on the 4th of March 1944. We salute the great martyr.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
In the first cricket test between India and Sri Lanka at Mohali, the hosts were 199 for 4 wickets in the first innings at tea. Earlier, India won the toss and elected to bat. Mayank Agarwal was out for 33 and Captain Rohit Sharma was out for 29. The 2-match series between India and Sri Lanka marks the beginning of Rohit Sharma's journey as the skipper of the test side. And incidentally, this is the 100th test of star cricketer Virat Kohli.
Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for today. The national capital will have strong surface winds during daytime. Mumbai will have mainly clear sky. Chennai is likely to have generally cloudy sky with light rain. Kolkata will have mainly clear sky. Srinagar will have partly cloudy sky becoming generally cloudy towards the afternoon or evening or night. Jammu will have mainly clear sky becoming partly cloudy towards evening or night. Leh will have partly cloudy sky. Gilgit will have partly cloudy sky. Muzaffarabad will have mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards evening or night. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs meeting to review Ukraine situation. Second and final phase of assembly elections to be held in Manipur tomorrow. Campaigning to end tomorrow for the final phase of assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh. Prime Minister addresses webinar on energy for sustainable growth, says sustainable and innovative business models must be developed to improve efficiency in the electric vehicles EV ecosystem. Government approves modernization scheme to equip Central Armed Police Forces with modern state-of-the-art weapons and equipment. Plastic business to grow into a 10 lakh crore industry in the next 5 years, says the centre. 97% of adult population in the country inoculated with first dose of COVID vaccine. Centre transfers 1,82,000 crore rupees to farmers' accounts under the Prime Minister Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana. And in cricket, first test match between India and Sri Lanka underway in Mohali. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.gov.in and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the Midday News.